what is going on YouTube? This is Josh over here at American AF Dumpsters. I have got a good one for you today. We are early. We're getting this knocked out early, and we're going to go to bed early, I think, or we're going to party early, one of the two. Anyways, so I'm glad you guys are with us. First and foremost, don't forget, please make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. And you're going to like and subscribe to my guest channel if you guys haven't already. Don't forget, there's also plenty of comments. Leave comments on Facebook on the Dumpster Rentals 101 page, as well as our YouTube page, American AF Dumpsters, which obviously you're probably already on. So let's go over a couple of housekeeping items first before we get into our guest. I've got some pretty cool weeks coming up. First of all, today, we've got Lake Champlain. We've got Heath with Lake Champlain today. Excited to have him on the channel. Big, huge guest to join us today. Next week, I am going to have, hold on. I've got a little intro here for it. I've got Life's Apprentice coming back to us next week to the channel. We're going to do something a little bit different than just a Q&A. Next week, Justin and I are going to go over marketing. So advertising and marketing and we're going to do a kind of a mini series of different topics, and we're going to spend the entire next week on how we market and advertise our businesses. Then the following week, so I've actually got 3 weeks lined up for you guys. That's insane. Then the following week, usually I wait till the last minute, but the following week I've got Matt and JoJo with Sonoma Strong Hauling and Junk Removal. So it's super excited to have them on here, kind of give us a little bit different vibe for our channel, because it's always been about dumpsters, cargo, dump trailers, and stuff like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, obviously. That's the bread and butter. But just other options. There's other ways for us to all make money. And Heath with Lake Champlain is going to talk to us about different ways that he makes money as well, and kind of how his business model is different than ours or mine, but still plenty. Still a very good business model and a good way to make a business. So also, before we go any further, don't forget Facebook Live or Facebook Dumpster Rentals 101. If you're not a member, it's free, dude. Like there's a bunch of good guys on there that just give nothing but free advice back and forth. I can't stress it enough that is a really good source of information. Just all kinds of good stuff on there from guys that are experienced and that are just starting out. So no pressure, nothing but good vibes in there. I'm going to be starting this week, videos on my Google AdWords and how I spend a little bit of money on Google Ads, as well as how to manage our Google My Business. This last week, there's been a lot of drama with a lot of companies who got their Google My Business listing suspended. And I'm going to go over in detail how to set up your Google My Business so hopefully it doesn't happen, how to get verified, and how to check out your competition and what they're using, what kind of keywords they're using on their GMB listings. Super cool. But the only way that you're going to get that kind of information is going to be a member on the YouTube page. So go to American AF Dumpsters YouTube page. There's a little button that says join. Click the Serious AF membership, because other than that, nothing else is important. And become a member. It's only going to cost you, I think it's $29 or $39 a month. But I guarantee, well, I can't guarantee. I'll give you your money back. I don't care. I'll guarantee you're going to get something out of it to make you money. Otherwise, request a refund. I don't really care. But you'll make money. So anyways, without further ado, we got the main man of the hour, Mr. Heath with Lake Champlain. Let's bring him on. Oh, we got clapping everything for you, man. What's going on,
awesome. Heath? Hey, what's good, man?
Not much, man. So glad you can join us, man. I'm super excited to have you here, brother.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I appreciate it, Josh.
Definitely, dude. Definitely. Look, so a lot of the guys that watch your channel watch mine, or vice versa, and your name has come up. Shoot, when I first started my channel, your name had come up as one of the the guys. You know what I'm saying? The guys to follow, and I watched your channel. And I've been following it ever since for a long time. So why don't you go ahead for the guys, for the people that don't know who you are or may not follow you, go ahead and do your little intro and tell us who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so guys, it's Heath Andre with Lake Champlain Sanitation. We're out here in upstate New York. Like I joked with Josh, just south of Montreal. For those that think I'm in New York City, we're actually just south of Montreal on the New York Canadian border up here. So we get a lot of seasons. Unlike some of you guys that might watch this channel that have no snow, we have a dead season. And our dumpster rental business is 1/3, I would say, of our total business model. Basically, because we get 3 or 4 months where we really can't safely rent dumpsters with 3 feet of snow on the ground. So we do residential trash and recycling pickup. That's like a weekly service we provide. We have about 600 houses we do that for, and we do junk removal. We're actually expanding our junk removal side. I just bought a new dump trailer. If you guys do follow the channel, it's my most recent video that we're going to build up, and I'm going to do a video on that. And of course, the dumpster rental business, which has been a really good addition that I started a couple years ago. I have one employee, and I have one part-time employee. That's my dad. And then one full-time employee who is a good buddy of mine who had a job he didn't really like, and he kind of came over to work with me to try to grow this thing a little more than where we're at.
Nice, nice. So, so your bread and butter. Let's say if you were to pick one thing that your business does and does really, really well, is going to be which side of the business?
I would have to say residential trash removal, just because I've done it for the longest amount of time and it creates the most revenue in my business and it's recurring. We do it old fashioned, as I like to call it, where we literally give you an 18-gallon bin for your recycling, and we give you a 96-gallon bin for your trash. We ask that you bag the trash, and you don't need to bag the recycling anymore. And we got a big old dump truck, a big 16-foot long Ram 5500 dump truck, where it's super manual, but with only 600 houses, we're not quite at that packer stage. And that business, it modeled, well, the way I have it right now is super dense. Those 600 homes get serviced in like 35 hours a week with one person in the truck. So I don't know if I want to expand that too much past where it is, which is why we're looking at junk removal and dumpsters more. But for right now, I'd say that's the main bread and butter.
So one business or one side of your business kind of complements the other, right? I mean, you've got your residential customers that use you and know you because I mean you're there every single week, but then you can probably also you so around here, let me go back real quick. Around here in my area, um, the city is the one that contracts with the residential trash pickup. And then we don't have a choice. We don't get a choice of who we want to choose to pick up our residential trash. So the city contracts them, and the city bills us through our water bill. So let's talk about first of all how do you get new customers? Do you have the option to just knock on any door and get a residential customer? And if so, do you bill them directly, or how does all that work?
Yeah, so do we have the ability to? Yes, but do we also have a city garbage department that does add it into their water and electric bills? Yes. So it's kind of both. But the customer does have the choice. And if I've never lived in the city to get that service, but to my understanding, if they sign up with me, the garbage portion of their triple bill, if you will come off and they'll just pay for their water and electric.
Okay.
Again, I haven't lived in the city and use the service, so that's just how I think it would work. So marketing wise, to get new customers, I really started out, well, to go back to the beginning, I did buy a small route. There was like 50 or so customers that I bought about 2.5, 3 years ago now. And it was a lot of word of mouth advertising in the beginning because I didn't know how to do Google AdWords. I didn't know how to really Facebook market. Boosting posts wasn't as like easy as it is now. And I really wasn't, branding the trucks. I had an old beat up dump truck and all that good stuff, which is, there's tons of videos on that. We won't go super deep. But I never actually knocked on a door. I've never physically gone to somebody's house and asked to pick up their garbage, unless I was physically at a house picking up garbage and someone was standing outside asking me. Everything's been digital. I've never done direct mail. It's been 100% digital and word of mouth since I started marketing back in 2019.
So you started in 2019. How would you say? So you bought with 50, and you went from 50 to about 600 since that
So it
time.
was midway through 18. I bought the 50. I was working a day job full time, so I did not expand it really much at all. It was like December of 18, January of 19, where I really decided, okay, I think I'm going to try to build this into a real business.
Okay, nice.
And then, yes, from I would say January of 19 to today, I've picked up 550 new accounts.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because so you bill them monthly,
It's
and
oh yes, yes. Some states or counties or companies bill quarterly. We do everything monthly, and I use QuickBooks. I use their credit card processing software and their automatic recurring invoice software, where I would say 80-ish% of my customers get an automatic email. So once I set it up, it's set it and forget it. And I must say, this is one thing about residential trash: you've got to stay on your bad payers, because 30-40 bucks a month doesn't sound like a lot till it's spread over 100 people, right?
right.
So QuickBooks has been really good to work with, where the reoccurring invoices go out and I don't do anything. They pay me and I get notifications on my phone when they pay me.
So do you get a like? I mean, is it like a big flashing thing on your screen that they don't pay, or how do you figure out they're not paying, and how do you make sure you pull them out of your route?
Yeah, so I have so there is an overdue invoice section. Everything I do is net 15. I will let it run to 30 before I start hounding, because a normal business is. But for cash flow purposes, I found it really good to. Most people forget about this bill. It's very
Right.
small. So I give them, net 15, and there's no late fees or penalties until day 30, right? To give leeway and not be a complete hounder. But I have an overdue invoice thing. I'm going to go through it tomorrow for August, because we're into September now, and I will check through it. I think right now I might be owed $1,800, which is like 50 something people.
Nice.
Um, so out of the 600, so not very bad. And you're gonna wait on money in a recurring business unless you're selling like a digital product that's you know automatic. Because the problem is, even if you have them on auto pay, their credit card could get declined, or you could have a situation where their credit card expired and they didn't remember to tell you, so then you got to do the physical phone call to get the new card. Just little stuff like that.
Right. Right. Any commercial clients that use you, or is it just mainly residential?
We're pretty much residential right now. I mean, the most commercial we do would be like a sixplex or a hair salon, where they still use the carts. They're
Gotcha.
not using the dumpsters, but they would be considered more commercial. They pay a little bit more per month.
Cool. So that's what's kind of cool, man. Just having you on, because I love that there's different facets to the industry. There's different ways to make money and kind of expand. It's not just about dump trailers. It's not just about the residential trash. It's not just about junk removal. I mean, you can kind of adjust your business depending on what's really needed more in your own market. So tell me a little bit about what made you, so why you bought the 50 upfront, the 50 customers upfront, and why did you decide to go the residential route? Some might think it's a little bit more work because you're keeping up with all those individual customers instead of just a handful that might rent a dumpster. But tell me kind of why you went that route over any other of the options.
Sure, and I'm gonna take you guys with me to go grab a phone charger, because I had some technical difficulties earlier.
Let's do it.
So the reason that I went with the 50 residential stops was because I didn't know anything about business, and the only thing I did know was that garbage gets created every day, right?
That's right.
So by buying these at a cheap enough rate, well, my camera goes everywhere here. Well, buying these at a cheap enough rate, I figured, hey, if I do this one day a week as a side hustle. Now, back then, I knew nothing about dumpsters, nothing about YouTube, nothing about anything really, aside from the job that I was working at the time. So I said, okay, this is reoccurring revenue, and I bought some piece of junk truck that I knew nothing about. But all in all, I only spent maybe $3,000 or $4,000 for the actual accounts, which made like $1,000 a month at the time, gross. So I was like, okay, well, if this all goes to shit, well, in 6 or 7 months, I'll have my money back and I'll just call it a day and won't do it. That's literally why I started it. I didn't know anything about garbage. I didn't look on YouTube back then like I did for dumpsters, and I knew nothing about anything. All I knew is I didn't really want to work for the man forever. And if I was going to work for the man, I wanted to have a write off so I could drive a nice truck and write it off.
Right, right, exactly, right. Cool, man, cool. So then you decided, let's add to it a little bit. Let's get some dumpsters. Is that kind of how it works, or did you just have an extra dump trailer that you wanted to use and throw into the business? or tell me where what pushed you from residential to go expand a little bit further out.
Yeah. So at the time that I did the dumpsters, I was only working, I think, 4 days at my day job because I built the residential up to a couple hundred accounts. So it was pretty much gross for gross the same. Like if I would have stayed at my job, it was like the same. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was like, well, it's going to be very hard for me, $35, $40, $25, whatever the account was at a time to go from right here to leave the job. But then I started looking at dumpsters and I was like, man, you can rent these things for like 300-400 bucks a shot. Yeah, it's expensive, but I mean, I had a lot of money saved because I didn't spend any of the money that I was making in the business. I lived off my job. I said, man, at the time, I think it was like $14,000. I was like, well, I can finance the trailer, pay cash for every single dumpster that I buy, and try to buy one a month until I get five, or every couple months or whatever. That's literally, I was like, this would work. Nobody's doing, I mean, people were doing mini dumpsters, but they were still charging a ton of money for it.
Sure.
And the people that were doing it weren't doing it very with the times, if you will. They weren't like, they didn't have a really good interactive website. They didn't have a good Google My Business. They weren't really running ads. They were just like these old mafia looking dudes with like these big trucks and running a tiny dumpster on a huge truck. And I'm like, well, I can definitely do it cheaper if I do it with a trailer and the same pickup. That was the other thing. I could do it with the same pickup that I was using, because you got to remember, I started the residential with a dump trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So I could use one truck and literally have two businesses with one truck payment. So it was kind of a win-win for me, and one of the best moves I ever made now, because I like that part better than the residential, but the residential pays.
We're always looking for something else, right? I mean, as business people, we're always kind of looking like, huh, I'm interested in your residential. You're more interested in the dumpster part, and then so it's like, okay, what else can we, what else can we get our hands into at the end of the day, right? So it's funny that you bring up the mafia thing because I literally had this written down, like a whole New York mob stuff. Like, so I mean, okay, let's be real. Is the whole, as far as what you know, is the whole Tony Soprano mafia New York trash stuff? Is that really real? Is that still going on? Is there still like unions in charge of all the truck drivers and dump truck
So
drivers and stuff?
so that was why I gave the big disclaimer. I have been to New York City like twice in my life, guys. And I'm 27 years old. So obviously I haven't gone there very much. Um, I think it is. I do. I think it is unionized in the city. I think it is. I don't know if you consider it real mob now. I think it used to be. I'm almost pretty sure it used to be. And I know the bigger conglomerate companies that are into the multi tens of millions or going towards a billion in revenue, the top 10 garbage companies do kind of operate that way. But where I'm from, not like that at all. There's one big company that holds 70% of the market. And then myself and the other little guys just feed on what's left, because they run the landfill, they run the recycling facility, they have all the automated trucks. So for me to even think I'm going to compete with them on a dollar for dollar level would take me 40 years, because they've been in business 50. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think to answer your question, in the city, yes. Where I'm from, nobody has broken into my house at midnight yet. And I mean, it could happen. Don't get me wrong.
Right? Beat
But
you upside the head with a trash bag, huh? Nobody's
yeah,
done
yeah.
that? Oh,
But
man.
yeah, for the cities, I'm gonna say yes. In the cities, yes, that stuff's real.
Okay. And you said you're how far from New York?
Uh, I
The
am
city
the
city?
opposite tip, so 5.5 hours.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All right. So back to your residential stuff real quick. What kind of radius are you trying to stay in? I mean, obviously it's you want to be more what's the word? You want to be
Dense,
what is it?
route
Dense. Yeah, you
density.
want to be more, towards your area, so you're not spending gas, not spending time. What is your radius, and out of the 600 customers, like how many times do you have to dump? What kind of bags are you giving them? Like a limit number of bags or trash bags that they got to throw? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so everyone that I have now, I should say everyone, 95% have one of the carts, the 96-gallon rolling carts you like roll out to the street. Some people choose to recycle, some people don't. So depending on the day, we typically dump well, actually, we always dump twice a day. Mondays is heavy, and if it's like a lot of recycling, we have to go to the dump a third time. But that only happens once in a while. So it's typically twice a day, and we do it 4 days a week. So it's 8 dumps per week to service 600. We're going to call it 96-gallon cans. And I would say out of the 600, 200 recycle. The other 400 don't want to pay for it because I charge more for recycling. So they don't get it.
Is there a different section in your landfill to take the recycled items versus?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Do
And
they
we,
go through
we
it all,
have
or you
to.
just dump it and you go?
So unfortunately, we do have to go through it all on the curbside, which is why I use the 18 gallon. And what I'm trying to transition to, I actually just spoke to a couple of customers about this today, because they are raising the rate on recycling and it's more labor to sort it. We're going to start going to all your numbers of plastics, your glass, your tin cans, and your cardboard, and we're going to start doing away with like old junk mail and newspapers because certain stuff is very hard to sort through
Mm,
and it takes up volume in the section.
sure.
So we have a special place where we've got the cardboard broken down, and then all the glass, tin, recycling, plastic stuff can go in bins. So it's pretty labor intensive compared to a regular truck, but the insurance on the truck I drive is an eighth of the insurance on an automated truck. So, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. We don't have the revenue to do an automated truck anyway. But even if we did, there's a lot more things to consider than you would think from looking from the outside in.
Gotcha. So literally up until I don't know a couple months ago, where I live, even though I live outside of Dallas, I live about 45 minutes or a half hour south of Dallas, give or take. But it's still, a suburban area. I mean, I live in an HOA neighborhood. If anybody's on my Facebook page, you'll see that I got a little ongoing war with the HOA. But anyway, that's a whole other story. And it's about the trash cans. Go figure, right? I mean, it's about my trash cans, where I put my trash cans. But anyways, um, so up until about a month or two, well, about 2 or 3 months ago, we literally had to put our trash bags on the street, and it was the old school. The guys hanging out the back of the trucks, and they would literally come and pick it up and throw it in the back. So when you're
Yep.
talking about automated, I think you're talking about what these guys have now. The new contracts, they gave us trash bins, and they come with like an arm, and it's just one guy in the truck, and it literally lifts it up and throws
Yes.
it in the trash. So how much do one of those trucks run? 150,000?
Um, So depending if you went brand new, like a brand new Mac chassis, big tandem axle chassis, they're closer to 300,000.
300 grand. Okay.
Yeah, I mean you can get them. You can get them used for 20 grand, but maintenance every single day,
Sure.
like, and that's the tough part, right? Is those rear loaders? I've looked into them. The guys hanging off the back, like you're talking. Oh, I want to get back to the miles because this is going to tie into this.
Yeah, yeah.
The miles we have to drive here, I have some sections where I have literally 100 customers in a circle you could draw on a map that's like 3 or 4 miles wide, which is pretty good where I live because it's rural. Then I have sections where you got to drive half a mile to get to each customer, and then you get back into one of those tight sections. So in an average week, from leaving the shop to back to the shop, it's 100 miles each day. That includes going to the landfill and coming back. It's about 400 miles a week round trip. That includes going to the gas station. Like I said, you got to go to the landfill twice and pick up all the houses. Where I live, that is actually a good route density. It's not as good as I'd like it to be, but it's better than the average hauler that's my size here is doing 600 to 700 miles a week.
Okay. 600 ETs. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting the more I think about it, right? So I mean, because your market is so dense, right? It's so pop in a small area. Have you done any like direct marketing, like the mailers and stuff like that, or has that not work for you?
So that is my 2022 only goal for the business. I don't need to raise the revenue too much more at this point. I want to raise the profit by really clamping down. And I actually started it this year. I stopped taking anyone outside of a radius. I'd probably have over 1,000 accounts if I said yes to everybody that calls.
Sure.
But
It just
it's one of
wouldn't
those
work out
things.
going too far out, right?
And he would have add a second truck, a second employee, and it just to me, one man with the truck we have should be able to do 700 stops in a 5-day work week easily. if it's dense the right way.
Gotcha.
And that's not killing themselves. Right now, I'm going to give it to my guy. I actually got to go do the run tomorrow because he has to take a day off, which is why I go to bed so early. But it's a lot. It's a lot. To do 604 days is a lot with the style we have. But if we had the route denser, it'd be no problem. Which I don't know how it is in your area, but here our dense area is probably 8,000 people, and then the other 50 or 60,000 are if you'd have to draw a 40-mile circle to get to those.
Gotcha.
And they're all in between, zigzagging back roads and stuff. But to your point, direct mail marketing, I'm probably going to pull the trigger on spending some money on that in 2022 to really clamp down on and increase the profitability.
Yeah, yeah. I would just imagine. I mean, if you want to cover that specific area, I would just imagine that definitely those mailers. I mean, it's the easiest way to go, and they're pretty inexpensive compared to other ads. But that's just my guess, I guess. Um, so so 35 hours, give or take, is what you're saying. Your driver's taking to cover the 600 a week.
Yeah, and in the
Pretty
winter
good.
time it'll be 40 because it's going to be the roads are bad up here in the winter.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay. So just a quick question I had earlier that came in my head: the rear pack or the rear loaders, the guys that are hanging out the back. I mean, how much are those insurance? I mean, how much? I would imagine that insurance would be absolutely insane having some guys hanging out the back of a truck like that on the road. I don't even know.
Yep, so I was looking at a small one. Granted, this was a brand new one and it was small. It was a F600 actually. And I got quoted $300 a month for insurance is what I got quoted. Now, I talked to a guy who's been doing this for 45 years, small hauler up here, bigger than me, but family business forever. He says his Packer, which is two chassis sizes larger than the F600. It's like a Peterbilt 337.
Mm-hmm.
That truck, he said, is $950 a month to insure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I don't, you know how that is. I haven't seen the paperwork. I don't know if he just doesn't want me to buy one, but I think
Sure.
he's being pretty honest. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, every time I talk about insurance, it's always like, man. I mean, honestly, for what we do, I think even the trucks is. I hate to say it, but it's actually a good deal in comparison to what I deal with in my other businesses, right? I mean, limos and limo buses. I mean, I'm paying a lot on insurance. So, anyways, let's go. Let's look at some questions real quick. We definitely have some questions going on, guys. Don't forget, we're answering all kinds of questions in Facebook and on YouTube. However, if you're on Facebook and you put a question, please put your company name because it just comes over as Facebook user, and I have no idea who you are. So let's see who we got here, man. Let's see. Can you see that, Heath?
Yeah, I can't on the
Too small?
phone.
All right, so we just got Sunflower Dumpsters. What's going on, Sunflower? Just a big shout out to Sunflower and we got Dana watching the channel. I'm sure he follows you. Real good guy. He knows what he's doing. Let's see who else we got here. Any questions? We're going through them right now. So give me a second, y'all. Justin from Life's Apprentice is on here as well. What's going on, Justin? We got Robert Hustle Nation. He was also here. Was that last week? I think he was here last week. Robert says, love your channel, Heath.
Thanks, Robert.
Let's see here. Robert's talking about mob trash. Question and answers time. How do you recommend advertising marketing when starting a roll-off business? Is word of mouth good enough? What do you say? What say you, Heath?
For me, word of mouth was good because I had an existing customer base, but it was not the only thing that I used. I did do Facebook, and I really wish that I could have done this on my laptop because I wanted to do some screen shares of some spreadsheets that I keep. I keep everything in a spreadsheet, guys, so you know, and I keep my marketing dollars for the year right down to the penny and all that good stuff, which I
Nice.
think you should do. I didn't start doing that till this year. I've changed a lot of things from watching some of these other channels. So thanks to you guys if you are on here. But I would recommend, Facebook is okay, but it's getting a little finicky. There's some new things like it's called like a business suite. I don't know if you use that, where you
Mm-hmm.
really can track impressions are one thing, but you don't want to just get 50 likes and 1,000 impressions and no sales. So I think you need a combination of some good Google AdWords, some Facebook, even if you're running a small ad at 30 or 40 bucks a month, just so it's a little thing out there boosting above the guy that's not. And talk to everybody, friends, family. Hey, I'm doing dumpsters. Hey, buddy, I'm going to buy a roll-off trailer. Go to your local contractors, the small ones. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew with like a roofer that does 50, 60 square roofs. That's going to destroy your equipment.
Right.
But, those are little things, guys. If you don't have a lot of money starting up like I did not want to put any money into advertising my dumpsters at all because I didn't know if it was even going to work. And I'm really cheap. Contrary to popular belief, I'm a very, very cheap person, like very frugal. I like to have nice equipment, but I'm super frugal. So word of mouth, first and foremost, free. Google AdWords, I to this day might run $100 a month. I do not run very much, and then Facebook is sometimes I'll throw $30 behind a post. Sometimes I'll do $40 for the whole month. So that'll give you guys a breakdown. And I wish I had that screen share because I will say to date, $1,600 total is all I've spent on marketing. That includes 2 golf tournament sponsorships of $100 each. So that's
You do
literally my
those?
total average. That's literally my total budget. And like I wish that I was in my office with my other computer and that had a camera, but it does not. So
That's all right. That's all right. We just appreciate you being here anyway. So I get those calls all the time for the golf sponsorship, especially from the chamber. But I've never sponsored one of those yet. I don't know. Sponsoring a whole, I know down here, $100 is cheap. That would be okay. But these guys around here, they want like $800, $1,000,
oh
$1,500
no.
for a whole. Like, come on now,
I mean, I was
$1,500.
in both of the tournaments, disclaimer. So I was in them, so I
Okay, well
really
there you
feel
go.
obligated to.
This is a good question. I was actually just thinking about this. So, what percentage would you say right now your dumpster business is from? I wouldn't say junk because you don't do any junk removal, do you? Do you do junk removal?
We do. We
You
we
do. Okay.
do, but we haven't. I wouldn't consider that. I mean, this year so far, maybe I've done 10 grand or 15 grand. I haven't done a lot in it
Okay.
this year.
So, what percentage would you say your dumpster part of your business is versus your residential part of your business right now? And
This,
where do you want it to
this
be a year from now?
in the busy season, it makes up 40% of my monthly revenue
Okay.
in the busy season. So it's pretty good. But as a whole, because there's a very dead season for me, the residential kind of swoops back in. And if you had I would say overall the whole year, 30-ish
Okay.
percent of the yearly total.
And where do you want to be a year from now? What's your goal for? I'd say the end of next year.
The end of next year, I'd honestly like to push the junk removal to 6 figures. I would like just the junk removal side alone to do 6 figures because the dumpsters, the equipment's paid for and it works, and the residential, all the garbage cans are paid for, and I just have the one payment on the truck, and that works, and it keeps an employee employed year round at good pay. So right now, my main focus is going to be learning, and that's why like when I talk to Matt, I really hope I can get some quality time with Sonoma, is to learn junk removal because as funny as it sounds, I don't know how to do it. I mean, I know how to go in and take it out, but I don't know how to structure it really properly. Don't really know how to price it that properly. I don't want to do it for nothing either. So that's really my main goal. And I look at everything in numbers, like as a whole for the business revenue and then profit on that revenue, not just revenue.
Do you have the manpower for junk removal, or is that just? I mean, you're going to try yourself for now, or yourself and one other. I mean, you got one guy
Mm-hmm.
constantly rolling doing the route. Um, how are you going to find time for junk removal?
So I could do it a couple different ways, and one of these ways is more risky than the other. Theoretically, the guy that's working for me, I could take the dump trailer that I'm building up for the junk removal out, do 2 routes, and then he would only have to do 2 routes, and we could bang out the amount of customers that we have in 2 or 3 days easily, and leave a couple days for junk removal.
I got you.
The only problem with that is, how employees are. Everyone out there, guy quits on you. Now you just screwed your whole business model.
Sure.
The second option is keep the route exactly where it is, raise rates, grow profit on that, even if it's $1 or $2 a month. Raise the profit on that because you always want to be growing a little bit. Just try to hit 300 dumpsters again. Like 300 dumpsters a year with the equipment we have in this area, pretty good. Maybe raise those rates $10. Then leave Fridays open because my father, to do 10 dumpsters or 15 dumpsters a week is very easy. It's very, very easy, as you guys know, when you have enough of them to put out. My father likes to work. Can you utilize him when he's not in the roll-off truck? And myself personally, I've done $1,000 junk removal jobs in one day very easily by myself. So that's how I think I could get there. There's multiple options, but I have that Friday always open. Friday right now for my guy is wide open. Right now, all he does is wash the truck and check over all the air pressure and everything. So we have a whole day we're not even utilizing.
Gotcha. That's what kind of interesting. So, what with the residential side? I mean, most people don't see all the hidden costs and the hidden cost to operate a business, right? So, with the residential side, you've got a truck, you've got a trailer, you've got your employee. What other costs are there, and what's your profit margin on that side of the business? What'd you say?
Yep. So just the profit. I'll give you guys the numbers because I break it down in the videos anyway. The way the route is right now, it does $240,000 a year gross in 4 days a week. That's what it'll do gross. Myself, after this is right, I break everything right down to the office paper, the fucking pens, everything. Sorry to swear, but I break it down. Right now, the way that it is, the residential itself, I can take $60,000 salary and never be in the truck at all. That's after, and I pay my guy $52,000 a year, so there's very good margin on it. So that's after payroll taxes, workers' comp, regular insurance for the truck, fuel, dump fees, rent on my new shop that I have, which is it's very cheap for what it is. It's only $450 a month, which is unheard of for what it is, and that guys, that number right there, the 450. I mean, take the salary down to maybe 40,000 because anywhere else it's going to be at least $1,000 to $2,000 a month for rent in a city. I just get really lucky because we're in the middle of bum F Egypt up here, so in the middle of nowhere. But yeah. Anyways, the way the route is right now, without growing it at all or changing anything, it's 240 a year gross, 60,000 net to me, and that is making the truck payments, and there's no payments on anything else. So that's just that part. If I were to do one more day of that, I could probably bring my net up to 75, 80,000, but I'm not really doing anything with it. You know what I mean? Other than like if a customer cancels because either they don't like us or they move or their family member died that had the service. Other than that phone call, I could just kind of manage it and just do that.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it took a long time to get there. I mean, in the beginning, if it was doing 18,000 a year, I was probably spending 17.5
Right.
to revenue that 18. It's been constantly, I've honed it in every single year since I did it. And it's only been a couple years, but a lot's changed. Just last year, the whole year I did 260. And so far this year, I've already done 260. So with only one employee that he just started like a couple months ago. So,
Nice.
and that's where for me, it's like, I'm at a point in business now, and you guys will get here too, if you try to do all these three things, is without hiring more people and bringing on more expenses, you're going to have to pick one way to go. You're going to have to go all in on one, or just be really happy and comfortable with the fact that you can pay yourself a really good livable salary and pay someone else a good livable salary, and slowly grow whatever way feels right. And that's where right now junk removal to me feel like I have all the equipment to do it. That's the other thing. I have all the equipment. I already have hand trucks. I have dumpsters I can put at ground level if we have to load them. I've got a dump truck if we want to just bring the dump truck. Like I have all the stuff that there's no more expenses other than labor that I need to add in. No more insurance, no more anything.
Nice.
So that's why I feel like the junk removal is a little baby right now, and it can be grown to where the whole business is, my goal is $500,000 to do it with one employee and then have my dad part time. That's the goal.
Nice. 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 So, um, watching one of your videos back, I don't know how long ago it was, but I remember um, it was you with a group of guys that you kind of like an inner circle that you have that you meet with. I seem kind of like regularly. I don't know. How important is it for uh, a business person who is trying to grow his business, who's trying to be a better person, not just in business but in personal life? What would you say? How important is it for that person to like have a group of like-minded individuals like that that you can count on and talk to in business, personal, and all kinds of stuff?
That was an unlock for me personally, and I am blessed that those they invited me into that. And the youngest one is 7 years older than me, so I was very fortunate to get into that group. And I don't know, I did a little video on a men's retreat that I went to with three guys I'd never met before, which was also an eye-opening experience because I mean, whether you're religious or not, it doesn't matter. But you write down goals of family and your beliefs and spiritual stuff. You climb a mountain. It was very uncomfortable for me, but by doing that, it gave me so much more perspective on the personal side of life. Where, and those guys I didn't even know. The guys that I do know, they're the only reason. Well, I say this, I feel they're the only reason I swung for the fences and pay a guy $25 an hour where I probably could have got away with 20, you know. But they want to overpay. They're like overpay. He'll and show them you really need them and you really want them. Those are things I don't know that kind of stuff. I mean, you can watch all these entrepreneurial videos and have paralysis by analysis, which I do sometimes even to this day. But by being around people that are, I mean, the guy that's making the least amount of money in that group will W-2 what my gross revenue will be this year.
Mm,
So, like, those guys are balling. And, like, to me, that's balling. They're only in their 30s and they're all doing really good. And they're in my town. So, like I said, if you guys can find a group like that, I think I mentioned it in that video. I mean, that's the unlock, and be a fly on the wall. I mean, I went in there. I still go in there as like because I'm the little guy just hanging out in there with these dudes,
sure.
and they're in real estate and they're in insurance. They're in different businesses than me. Like this business, if you guys are watching this channel, or if you have this business, or if you're in a contracting business, or any type of service based business that involves equipment, the cash intensity that you have to put in is a lot higher than selling real estate or being a partner in a brokerage that you worked at to then become a partner in. No less work. Those guys grind probably 10 times harder than I do, but this is very cash intensive. So sometimes this stuff will take a longer period before you see the profit. I'm sure, if anyone's watching this channel, it's very hard unless you have a lot of money to go out and pay cash for a $60,000 truck and $50,000 worth of dumpsters. It's
Right.
hard to do that with no money, right?
Exactly.
So that's why it'll take a little time. But those guys gave me perspective, and more or less the guys that I went on the retreat with gave me personal life perspective. Where my wife and I, our goals are the same, man. I mean, she still works full time, and we don't need to be, millionaires and not trying to get rich quick or anything. But at the end of the day, if you're going to get into this business, it is very hard. But as you probably know, the dumpsters give you a little bit of freedom. Residential, you're married to. So I don't know if you want to speak to how different residential is from dumpsters, but they're two totally different worlds.
Well, you can't miss a day because I'm sure you get your phone blowing up if you miss a day. Like, where's my trash pickup? Or,
Yes.
you got animals probably tearing down the trash cans, and you've got trash blowing through the streets because you didn't pick up, the trash on time or something like that. So, but touching on the inner circle, like, I want to talk a little bit on that myself because a few years back in the limo industry, I was invited into a group, and it was a first group of its kind from a person who, I consider a mentor who has helped me along the way for a long time. So he invited me into this group, and not really about. It wasn't at all about him and what he could teach me. It was more about the relationships that I built with the other group members, and that I've built literally lifelong friendships with. That it's really hard to get into my I'm a very closed off person, right? I mean, it's really hard to get into my personal circle, my inner circle, whatever you want to call it. And but once you're there, it's like you're like family to me, right? So that's the way I've always looked at it. But it's super important to surround yourself with like-minded people, and for a lot of guys that are watching these channels, I mean, they're just now getting started. They're young guys like Bryce that was on here last week, and I know he's watching. There are a lot of young kids that don't really understand that you're going to have people that are for you and you're going to have people that are against you. And it's those people that are against you that you've got to like separate yourself from, because they're either jealous or they don't think you can make it or they just bring you down. So it's super important to surround yourself with winners or positive thinkers and people that can support you. Because if you don't have that support, it'll bring if you're not super strong willed, it'll bring you down. Attach yourself. If you guys are watching, attach yourself to people that lift you up, and find those kind of groups. And they're not easy to find, but when you find one, I think. How were you invited? Was it somebody that you knew that kind of brought you on board?
So I was in a local. I don't know if they call it this in any other state, but BNI. It's like a business networking
Sure.
thing. They called it PPC, which was Plattsburgh Professional Connections, because that's the town I'm in. And I was there, and one of the guys that was there, it's like 30 business owners and whatever, and this other guy runs the real estate thing. He was the closest one to me in age. And he said, hey, I want to talk to Adam and Jared, and we do a mastermind privately outside of this group where we talk, family, money, how the week's been, all this kind of stuff. And if those guys are down, and I'd seen those other two guys like in public before, but I'd never like been intimate with them, like talked to them like one on one, right? I said, all right, cool. So he threw me in a group message with them, and they said, yeah, we meet, at this time every other Thursday. If you want to come by this location, we switch it up with our offices. And now it's probably been a year we've been doing it. So, and we're all like really close friends now.
How often do you guys meet?
Bi-weekly, every 2 weeks.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
All right, so Q&A. What happened to the box? Here we go. Question and answer. How many other dumpster rental companies are in your area? I'll leave that for you because I sure as heck don't know. My area is so big that it is just too many. DFW is humongous.
Yeah, so Casella's big. They're like the mob. They're the big dogs. They got
What is
like
it called?
40 trucks.
Casella?
Casella.
Okay.
Casella. Yeah, Casella with a C. Huge East Coast. I mean, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Boston. They're all over the place. So they're the biggest. Then there's probably 6 other small companies that actually rent dumpsters, whether it's on a dumpster trailer or a roll-off truck.
Sure.
So 6 of those, one of the big guys, and then maybe 1 or 2 guys that have like a dump trailer that they'll rent out, but they usually rent it super, super cheap, and I don't really compete with them because they only have like one, and they're like a landscaper that just kind of rents it out on the weekend kind of thing.
Are you still the new guy in your market?
I'm
More for
probably
residential,
second.
probably.
I'm probably second newest. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm second newest, but I would say I'm third or fourth. I would say I'm third biggest from a standpoint of footprint, like in like household names per se. There's guys that make more money than me because they have like contracts with like Walmart and Lowe's, and they got like big 40-yard dumpsters, and they're making way more money.
Sure.
But from a standpoint of the smaller side of the business and how much, like between my website and my social media and everything, I would say I'm probably second to Casella on how loud I am in the community. From a good way though, not like
Good.
annoyingly loud. And that's one thing. Like a couple guys came in and tried to like undercut the market and have these like jump trucks and like screaming like buy this, buy my dumpster. those guys are not doing very good. They lasted like a couple months, and they're not doing very good.
Sure, right, right. So in your specific area that you market, in your area, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is your market read, or what would you say? What percentage do you have that use you, and what percentage is still out there for you to take
There's at least 50% out there for me to take still.
in
I
your
would
area?
say I'm probably tapped into 30 to 40% of prospects. Now, do they use me? Not always, because Casella will cut my throat sometimes. I mean, I'll do a dumpster for 319 and they'll come in at 250 just to screw me. They have done that. People have called me back and said that, so I
Sure.
know it's real.
But what about your
Uh,
residential?
huh?
What about your
What was
residential
that?
though?
Residential. Residential, I'm probably third or fourth in their head because that company I was talking about that's been around for 45 years, they're second in their head because they had over 2,500 accounts.
Okay,
And they do commercial, they do dumpsters like rear load, like those
gotcha.
big steel dumpsters. So I would say third or fourth. But that's the thing. I don't really advertise though. I really don't. I'm a weird entrepreneur because I obsess over controlled growth with high profit margin. Like on 500,000, I want to profit minimum 150 minimum. To me.
Sure.
So that in this business, I mean, what's good? Like 20%, 22%. I want to be 32, percent personally.
We've
With,
talked
with
about that on a couple of the live streams, and I think most businesses is a healthy business when it's right around 20%, but I think it's attainable in this industry to be much higher. So that
yeah.
30% is a very high number in other types of industries, but
Hmm.
it's attainable here. I mean, look, you're running 600 residential customers with one employee, and I mean, it's just there's just money to be made in the trash business for sure. Now, it is labor intensive though. I mean, it's pretty heavy. Like you have to be out there driving, putting those miles on the trucks. You have to be spending that time at the landfill. I don't know about you, but the landfill here again, I always said can take anywhere. If you go to the regular landfill, minimum usually an hour, if not 2 hours or more. It's insane. So
That's a long time.
yeah.
That's longer than us.
Yeah.
That's
So, but
longer
I
than
go to the
us.
transfer station. I'll pay a little bit
Oh,
more so that I can bypass, and I pay more per ton. But to me, it's well worth it. Honestly, I can be in and out in 15, 20 minutes usually.
yep.
All right. So who we got here? First of all, let's say what's up to Lou. Lou, I still want you on the channel, my man. If you're still watching, I would like to have you on the channel. The offer's been out there. I can't chase you, man. But the offer's out there. Anytime you want to join the channel, the live stream, you're welcome, my man. You watch Lou? You ever follow his channel? CFL Dumpsters. Good guy.
TFL, yeah, yeah. I think that was one of the first ones I looked at before I started.
Yep, yep. I think there was
Cool.
one video. I think it's his. No, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, man, but there was one video where he like literally jumped on top of the dumpster and he's like putting the tarp while the dumpster's on top of the trailer. Like heck no. Like I don't do heights, man. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I will drive with that tarp completely. No, I probably wouldn't, but I wouldn't be climbing up on top of that dumpster at all.
I watched a guy do that. The channel was Kyle Grimm. I
Yeah,
don't know if
where he jumps like a frog.
the guy that has the business that he's videotaping like jumps up on it and like tightrope walks the thing. I was like,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. No, that's first of all, I'm about 25 years too old for that, and about I don't know 150 pounds too heavy for it. I mean, he'll grab that rail and he'll do like a high jump. There's no way I can't do it.
Yeah.
All right, we got CVA dumpsters. What's going on, man? He says, Heath, do you ever see growing the dumpster rental side of your business? If so, hook lift, standard rail, or just more of what you have? I think you kind of mentioned that earlier, but what do you think? I think you said hook rail, right? A hook
Yep.
lift.
Yep. Hook lift is what I've been looking into. It's just going to come down to when the money makes sense and when we have enough, where I feel is enough liquid to put down cash on it because I really do want to buy a new one, guys. I think I've talked about that in the videos. I like new equipment, even if it has payment on it. You don't want to payment yourself and leverage yourself to the hilt, but I've had new equipment pretty much since day one, and I don't really like big service bills. So until I can afford to put a big enough down payment on a hook lift truck, and most likely I'm going to go with something under CDL, whether it's a 26,000 pound with like a 20,000 pound Stellar hook, or like a 16,000 pound hook on a F600. You probably won't see me with anything different than what I have right now until that day comes.
Nice, nice. All right, we're gonna do the fire round because I know you've got to go. You wake up bright and early like I do, so but you're also in a different time zone, so I can stay up a little bit longer. So we're gonna do the fire. What did I say a minute ago? Fire
Fire
round.
round.
Yeah. So HHP Progressive. I think he's usually fishing, so maybe we caught him a little early. The guy's fishing every single week. He just says, "What's up?" Good guy, good company. Let's see here. Who else have we got here?
Hey, thank you, HP. I see you on the Instagram and the YouTube all the time, so thank you for the support.
Awesome. Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, he's always commenting, so we love it. Justin Elliott Q&A. What is your handicap on 9 holes? I'm about a 6. I don't golf, so I have no idea what.
No,
I mean,
no comment.
no comment. Are we talking about mini golf or regular golf?
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. I gotta shout out my son E Money, always commenting. Love you, E Money. All right, Dana Hanson. Good afternoon from Southern California. What's going on? We talked to Dana. Who else we got? On Point Dumpsters in South Carolina. Enjoy watching you both each week. Heath, how many times do you try to how many videos do you try to put up on YouTube?
I mean, that is the one thing I'll say, man. Stuff's been crazy. I would love to consistently be able to do one on the same day every week,
It ain't happening.
but recently it's just not working out because I don't want to put a video up. I mean, I'll be honest. I told you when we were on the phone privately earlier, I am not good with technology, guys. Everything's through my phone. So goal, one a week. Will that ever happen consistently? Right now, I don't know. I'd love to though. I got some content that's literally ready to go. Oh, I want to give a shout out on here. Michael Pelletier Welding and Fabrication, Fort Ann, New York. I went and visited him. I did a video with him. He builds custom dumpsters. He can do
Nice.
Max D, PJ, Texas Pride. He can do hook lift. He's a full-blown fabricator, guys. He works by himself with his father in a shop. He had a 22-foot roll-off, 20-yard, 22 feet long, short wall roll-off, literally being built. You're going to see that in the video. That's probably going to be my next video that comes out in the next few days. Very reasonable on price, and he's a grinder. He's shipping those to Wisconsin, so he ships them all across the country, guys. So Pelletier Welding and Fabrication, and I will have a link with his contact info in that video when I post that.
That's what we need, man. That's why I made a point to really stress Keystone too locally. And I've got a video coming out too talking about Keystone American made. And now you've got Pelletier.
Pelletier, yep, Pelletier.
I mean, they're trying to, and I get it, Lone Star, Max D, PJ, even Texas Pride, although they do have standard rail as well, but they're trying to lock us into only buying their cans, and I get it why, right? I mean, but it's really good having different options. And if you see the difference between my Lone Star cans and my Keystone cans will still be here in 20 years, more than likely. My Lone Star cans will be a pile of dust that's going to fall apart. Okay, I'm still selling them, so if you want to buy them, they're really nice dumpsters. But let's be honest, I mean, they're not going to last as long, right? So they're just not in the same quality. It's not even in the same wheelhouse. Not even close to being the same quality. So it's good to have other options, and I think it's people like you and I and oh, don't forget Nedlands. Nedlands also builds their own dumpsters, but it's people like you, Justin, that are kind of pushing these guys because I hate to say it, I'd rather give my money to a local company that can build me a much better product, even though it may be a little bit more, even though mine was actually less than Lone Stars were, but than to be locked into a one specific thing. But that's just I went on a binge. Bryce Cunningham, cool stuff. Pro D, big shout out. He was on the channel last week for a little bit. Let's see who else we got. Scott Moffett had a question. Have any of you used your local small business development center to help grow your business and advice with or coaching? What do you?
So the small business center actually helped me set up my LLC when I was an LLC. I've since gone incorporated for tax reasons. But yes, I use them for that. Since then, we have a thing called the Chamber of Commerce, which I'm sure is normal anywhere in the country. That is something I want to look into. For any of you guys starting this and thinking about going full time in it, my wife, through her job, has good health insurance. So the
That's
chamber
good.
does offer good health insurance at a good, I say a good rate, but totally tax deductible. Where my wife's health insurance right now to our personal income is not tax deductible through the chamber. I do want to do some research. When I get that, I'll probably make a video about that too. How to get insurance for yourself if you get sick. Obviously, I mean it's good. You got to have insurance on the trucks, but if you're going to do this full time, you want to have health insurance too, just in case anything goes wrong.
Yep. Yep. It's really hard for us small business guys to have insurance. So, um, if the wife works and has insurance, that's even better. Let's see. We're almost done, man. We'll let you go to bed here in a minute. Almost done. Almost done. Almost done. Let's see. There was a good question that came. Here's a really good one. Q&A. Do you think for both of us? Do you think the big companies are scared of us little guys?
Mm, Depends how big your little company is. I'm going to just leave it there because I could elaborate a lot, but it'll get confusing. It depends on your area. It also depends on how fast you take their money, but the difference between you taking their money and you keeping the money is different because this exact scenario happened in this town 10 years ago. Company came in 2 years, they had a little bit of money, and when I say a little, I don't mean 5 grand. They had like $500,000. So they had, but to this big company, that was a little bit of money. They came in, cutthroat the competition, took over probably eight or $900,000 worth of business in like a year or two. That company was out of business in 2 years because they could not sustain. They did not have the legs to keep up with the logistics of what that would take. And that was a residential side of the business. So I don't think they worry about you until you're around long enough. And I personally haven't been around long enough for them to worry about me. Um, so in a few years from now, I can probably give you a better answer on that. But for right now, think it really depends how long you've been in business and how good would your business run without you is what they're going to look at.
So here's the way I look at it, man. They probably aren't, especially us really, really little guys. I mean, we're a drop in the bucket to them, honestly, but they should be because I'll tell you what. I'll tell you why, and I don't mean it in a cocky way. I mean it not just me in particular, but I mean us as an industry, us as a whole. I see an evolution almost, and maybe it's just because I'm new to the business, right? New to the industry, but I almost see like a just a whole turn in mentality on you don't have to call the big guy. You don't have to call that one company who has 500 1,000 dumpsters sitting there. You don't have to call Republic or CWD or anything like that. And I'm tired of the cities telling us who we have to use as a customer. And that's what they do
Yep.
here. Like we have to use one specific company. And I'm dropping my cans in any city in every city. And until I'm told I can't do it, until I'm forced not to, I'm going to continue to do so. And I see a lot of people doing it too. And again, it's kind of like one of those things. If you drive, a red Camaro, you start seeing red Camaros all over the place or whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? But, maybe it's just me seeing a lot of dumpsters all over the place, but I'm seeing a lot of brand new shiny ones. And I hope those guys are doing it right. I hope those guys are charging the right prices and not lowballing and undercutting just so they can get the work out there. But on the same token, I love seeing new people out there because all we're doing is we're not taking money from each other. We're taking away money
Mm-hmm.
from them. So that's the
Yeah.
way I'm looking at it.
No, I think you're right, and I think that you would need to make a significant impact, and at that point, I think by the time they worry about you, you will be able to sustain yourself, if that makes sense.
Yep. Heath, are you staying cash positive? Which it sounds like you are. And are you worried about any market crashes? Do you think your business is, um, I don't know, not I don't know, risky business, if the market goes down?
I mean, we were a little worried when COVID first started. Actually, we got a boost in sales because everyone was home, or I got a boost in sales last year because I was all alone doing it still. Cash positive, yes. I don't really know what you would consider cash positive, but without going into personal finances, we do keep quite a bit in reserve so we can make it a certain amount of months without any revenue for anything and keep everything the way it is. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I can say that helped me do that was by taking a very small salary. I mean, I my old job still to this day where I am now paid me more than I pay myself still while I sit here. And that's helped me pay off a lot of stuff very fast, and have low payments on other things. So it's a very disciplined way to go about business. But if you can do that, I don't think if the recession lasts a year and you don't have any revenue coming in for a year, most businesses don't keep a year's cash in reserve because it takes longer than 3 or 4 years to build up a whole year's amount of cash that you need for expenses and stuff. I mean, that's very, very hard to do, damn near impossible,
Right.
in my opinion. But I'm not too worried about this. I'm not too worried about my business because residential trash is going to be there
Always.
whether or not, whether the government has to pay us to pick up the people's trash because nobody's going to work. I don't even know how that's going to work. If it did, that'd be the craziest thing I think any of us have ever seen. But I always think that dumpsters as well. People have to get rid of stuff, guys. This business is about removing unwanted stuff, and nobody's gonna remove it for free. So unless they just want the streets to pile up with trash, they're gonna have to pay somebody to do it. So I
Yeah.
hope that answers your question.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's kind of why again I got into this business is because I feel like it's definitely almost recession proof. I mean everything is can be risked or whatever. There can always be issues, but this industry is always recession, in my opinion, almost recession proof. I don't think anything is 100%, but I mean, this is America. We have the most trash, the most junk. We buy the most unneeded things in our house than any other country probably in the world, and we're there to pick it up when they don't want it anymore, right? Last question, and I'm gonna let you go, my man. Again, thank you for your time. I'm gonna ask you this question, but we're gonna wrap it up. Guys, if you're watching next week, again, I've got Justin with Life's Apprentice. And I think what I'm going to do next week, which is going to be kind of cool, is let me know in the comments below if you want to try this out. But I think what I'm going to do after the show next week, we're going to do a live Zoom after party. What it means, I have no idea. I saw one other channel that was doing it, and it had nothing to do with this industry. And I thought it was a kind of cool idea. So it's going to be a live Zoom after party. You can chit chat with me, Justin, and anybody else who wants to be on the channel. Heath, as always, you're always welcome to come back anytime. Come back to if it's not too late for you. I know your time's way different, but live Zoom after party next week. We'll try and figure it all out together. Last question, Heath. Are all your residential cans rolled out to the street? I see a residential guy here, and he uses a Super Duty truck without a trailer that allows him to get into driveways. You pull into people's driveways, or is it all about efficiency, pulling up on the curb, throwing it in, and off you go?
Yep, started the same way. Started by going up to the house with a driveway situation, but now everybody's curbside,
Curbside.
except for
Easy.
elderly. We still back in for elderly people, but other than elderly, everybody else is curbside.
Cool. All right, Heath, man. Again, I can't thank you enough, brother, for showing up, for coming to the show. Again, if you do not follow Heath, make sure I will put a link to his YouTube channel in the description below. But it's super simple. Just type in Lake Champlain. I always say that wrong. I want to say Lake Champlain Sanitation on YouTube, and you're gonna pull him up too. So Heath, thanks again, brother, for coming to the show, my man.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
All right, brother. We'll see you guys later. See you guys on the next
Later.
one.